Donald Trump. The name itself demands attention, doesn't it? And here's a moment that proves why. Picture this: Donald Trump out for a walk on a quiet afternoon when suddenly a dog, lost and in danger, sprints toward him. The dog is panicking, running straight toward an oncoming car. Now, most people would freeze. Not Donald Trump. He's always known how to react when it counts. In that instant, with no hesitation, Donald Trump springs into action. He doesn't think about the risks, doesn't second-guess his decision, he just acts. With one swift movement, he pulls the dog out of harm's way, narrowly avoiding disaster. It's a moment of pure bravery. But that's not the end of it. As Trump holds the scared, trembling dog in his arms, you can see something in his eyes. It's not just relief, it's a bond, a connection. That dog isn't just some stray animal. In that moment, the dog is part of something bigger. It's part of a story of courage and leadership. Donald Trump doesn't just save a life here. He shows us what it means to lead with compassion and strength. He puts the dog's safety above his own without a second thought. And in doing so, he shows all of us that true bravery isn't just about fighting battles. It's about knowing when to protect the vulnerable, no matter the cost. And as he walks away, with the dog now safe and sound in his arms, you can almost hear the crowd cheering. Donald Trump once again proving that when it comes to making a difference, there's no hesitation, only action, only bravery. Donald Trump's ability to think quickly under pressure is one of the many qualities that defines him. It's the kind of trait that sets him apart from others, making him a natural leader in even the most unexpected situations. When a life is at stake, there's no room for doubt or hesitation. It's about reacting in the moment and taking action. This is exactly what happened when Donald Trump found himself in a situation where his quick thinking and fearlessness saved a dog from imminent danger. The story unfolds like something out of a movie, but it's all real, and it happened in a flash, thanks to Donald Trump's incredible instinct. The day started off like any other. Donald Trump, ever the busy man, was taking a break from his demanding schedule. He was out for a walk, enjoying a rare moment of peace and quiet, when suddenly everything changed. Out of nowhere, a small dog appeared. It was frantic, clearly lost and terrified. The dog's movements were erratic, and it was clear that something was wrong. The poor animal had been separated from its owner, and it was in no condition to fend for itself. But it wasn't just the dog's distress that caught Trump's attention. It was what was happening around it. As the dog darted through the streets, unaware of the impending danger, a car came speeding down the road, its engine roaring and tires screeching against the pavement. In that moment, the dog was oblivious to the peril that lay just a few feet away. The car was heading straight toward it, and there wasn't enough time for the driver to stop or slow down. Anyone else might have frozen, unsure of what to do in a situation like that. But not Donald Trump. He didn't hesitate. He didn't stop to second-guess his actions. In a split second, Trump's mind was already in motion, formulating a plan that would keep the dog out of harm's way. As the car approached, he lunged forward with all the speed and precision he could muster. Donald Trump didn't think about the risks he was taking. He didn't stop to consider whether there might be any consequences for his actions. All he cared about was saving that dog's life. With a quick grab, Donald Trump pulled the dog out of the path of the oncoming vehicle, his strength and quick reflexes ensuring that the dog was moved to safety in time. It was a narrow escape, and for a moment everything seemed to stand still. The car passed by just inches away from where they had been, but thanks to Trump's swift action, the dog was unharmed. In that instant, something extraordinary happened. Donald Trump didn't just save the dog from physical danger, he saved it from fear and uncertainty. He provided the animal with a sense of security, and that's something many people might not realize. When an animal is in distress, it's not just the physical danger they face, it's the emotional toll too. In a world that can be so chaotic and unpredictable, the reassurance of a protector, someone like Donald Trump, is what brings peace. And in that moment, Trump did more than just save the dog's life. He gave it a sense of safety, a feeling that it could trust again. As Trump stood there, holding the dog in his arms, he didn't let go. There was no rush, no urgent need to leave the scene. He took a moment to comfort the animal, to let it know that everything was going to be okay. This wasn't just an act of physical bravery, it was an emotional connection too. Donald Trump has always been a man of conviction, someone who doesn't just take charge of a situation, but also takes care of those around him. That's why this moment was so significant. It wasn't just about his ability to react under pressure. It was about his character, his innate sense of responsibility for those who needed help, regardless of who or what they were. The dog, who moments earlier had been shaking with fear, now relaxed in Trump's arms. Its breathing steadied, and it slowly began to feel the warmth of safety. For Donald Trump, this was a moment that spoke volumes. He didn't need applause or recognition. He didn't need anyone to tell him what a hero he was. To him, it was simply about doing what was right. It was about being the kind of person who stands up in a moment of crisis and does what needs to be done, no matter the cost. But what was truly remarkable was the ripple effect of this moment. Those who had witnessed it, who had seen Donald Trump take immediate action without thinking of himself first, were deeply moved. They saw in him the kind of leadership that transcends politics, the kind of leadership that comes from the heart. In that brief, intense moment, Trump showed the world what it means to be brave, not for glory, not for recognition, but for the simple act of helping someone in need. The dog was saved, but it wasn't just the animal's life that was changed. The people who saw it happen were changed too. They saw a different side of Donald Trump, one that was selfless and caring, one that stood in stark contrast to the political persona they were used to seeing. It's easy to forget that leaders like Donald Trump are capable of acts of kindness and bravery in their everyday lives. Often, we only see the public figure, the politician or the businessman. But moments like this show us a different side, a side that cares deeply about the welfare of others, even if those others are animals who have no voice. Trump's actions in saving the dog weren't just about a fleeting moment of heroism. They were a reflection of the kind of person he is at his core, someone who steps up when it matters most, someone who acts with courage and without hesitation. This story, the one of Donald Trump saving a dog from danger, isn't just about a heroic act. It's about demonstrating the kind of leadership that makes people believe in the power of taking action. It's about showing that sometimes the greatest acts of bravery come not from grand gestures, but from simple, decisive actions when lives are on the line. And in this case, it was Donald Trump who showed everyone what it truly means to be a hero. By the time the dog was safe, people were starting to gather around, talking about what had just happened. Trump had made an impact, not only by saving a life, but by reminding everyone that bravery doesn't come with conditions. It's not about what's easy or convenient. It's about stepping up when it counts. And Donald Trump did just that. Donald Trump has always been a man who commands attention, not just for his bold decisions or public persona, but for the way he connects with people and animals alike. That connection, however, isn't always obvious in the grand spectacle of his life. Often it's the quiet moments, the unsung actions, that reveal the true depth of his character. One such moment came when Donald Trump found himself standing in the middle of an unpredictable situation, yet again demonstrating how his ability to bond with those in need of help is as much a part of his leadership as his well-known business acumen. The dog that Trump saved that day was not just a stray. It wasn't just a helpless animal caught in a dangerous situation. This dog was more than that. In the moments after the rescue, as Donald Trump held the trembling dog in his arms, there was an undeniable shift in the air. A sense of trust filled the space between them. The dog, scared and confused just moments earlier, began to calm down, its heartbeat slowing, its breathing steadying, and as Trump gently stroked its fur, there was an unmistakable sense of understanding between them, as if the animal instinctively knew that the man holding it wasn't just someone passing by, but a protector, someone who would always be there when needed most. The bond between Donald Trump and that dog didn't happen overnight. It didn't come from a scripted moment or a forced encounter. It was an immediate, raw connection that emerged from the act of care and compassion. As he stood there with the dog in his arms, Trump wasn't thinking about the media or the public eye. He wasn't considering what others would say or think. His attention was entirely focused on the dog, on its well-being, and on reassuring it that everything was going to be okay. It was a simple act, but in that simplicity, there was something profound. In that moment, the dog was no longer just a helpless creature. It became a living being with its own set of emotions and fears. And Donald Trump, with his calming presence and steady hands, became its safe harbor. The emotional bond that formed between them was visible in the way Trump interacted with the dog. He didn't simply set it down and move on, as many might have done after a quick rescue. He took the time to hold the dog close, to speak softly to it, to let it feel his warmth and strength. Donald Trump didn't just see the dog as an object to be saved from danger. He saw it as a living, breathing creature with its own struggles, fears, and emotions. This wasn't a moment for him to show off his bravery or seek admiration. It was a moment to show genuine compassion, to be present with the animal in a way that only someone truly empathetic could understand. As the minutes passed, the bond between Donald Trump and the dog grew even stronger. The dog, who had been shaking with fear just moments ago, began to relax in his arms. Its eyes softened, and the tension in its body slowly melted away. It was as though, in that brief time, the dog had come to understand that it was no longer alone, no longer in danger. It had found a protector, someone who had risked his own safety to ensure that it would be okay. And for Donald Trump, that moment of connection was as significant as the rescue itself. The emotional depth of this interaction wasn't lost on anyone who witnessed it. People standing nearby could see it in the way Trump held the dog, in the way he looked at it with such tenderness and care. It was a moment that transcended the usual political spectacle. There was no audience, no cameras, no speeches. It was just Trump, in a quiet but powerful act of kindness, showing the world that he was more than just a figurehead. He was someone who understood what it meant to connect with another living being on a deeply emotional level. In that brief transformative moment, Donald Trump demonstrated something that many people overlook: the capacity for empathy. It's easy to imagine Trump as a strong, decisive leader who makes quick, bold decisions in high-pressure situations. But here, with this dog, Trump showed a side of himself that many people may not have expected. He showed that true strength isn't just about dominating situations or being the loudest voice in the room. True strength comes from understanding and connecting with others, whether they are people or animals, and using that understanding to guide your actions. The dog, once frightened and alone, now had a sense of security because of the way Trump interacted with it. What's particularly remarkable about the bond between Donald Trump and this dog is the sense of peace it brought to the situation. As much as Trump's physical strength and quick thinking were crucial in saving the dog, it was his emotional intelligence that truly made the difference. By taking the time to reassure the animal, to be patient and gentle with it, Trump created a space where the dog could feel safe again. That, in many ways, is what true leadership is about. It's not just about taking charge in moments of crisis. It's about recognizing the emotional needs of others and addressing those needs with care and compassion. This connection between Trump and the dog wasn't something he set out to create. It wasn't planned or orchestrated. It happened naturally, born from his instinct to protect and care for those who need help. In many ways, it's a reminder that leadership comes in many forms. Sometimes it's about making tough decisions and facing challenges head-on, but other times it's about showing empathy and understanding, about taking the time to connect with others on a personal level. Donald Trump's ability to do both is what makes him stand out, not just as a political figure, but as a person who truly cares about the welfare of others. The emotional bond between Trump and the dog was something that stayed with both of them long after the incident was over. For the dog, it found a sense of safety and trust that it had been missing. It knew in that moment that it had been rescued not just from physical danger, but from emotional distress. For Trump, The bond was a reminder of the power of compassion and the importance of showing care for those who need it most. It was a lesson in the quiet strength that comes from being emotionally present with others, whether they are human or animal. And as time went on, that bond remained a symbol of the kind of leader Donald Trump is. A leader who doesn't just take charge in times of crisis, but one who knows how to offer comfort, understanding, and security. In a world that often seems divided and chaotic, it's moments like these that remind us of the power of connection and how, even in the most unexpected of circumstances, compassion can make all the difference. Donald Trump has always been a man who knows how to handle high-stakes situations, but the true measure of his character often comes from the moments when his selflessness shines through. It's easy to imagine someone as powerful and influential as Trump being driven by personal gain, by the desire to be in the spotlight. However, there are instances where his actions defy such expectations and reveal a deeper sense of selflessness that many people may not always associate with him. One of these moments came when he demonstrated extraordinary bravery by putting his own safety at risk to help a dog in danger. It wasn't about glory or recognition. It was about saving a life and doing what was right. In the blink of an eye, the situation escalated. The dog, lost and running frantically through the streets, didn't see the danger that was barreling toward it. The oncoming car wasn't slowing down, and the dog had no idea of the impending threat. Donald Trump, who was nearby, noticed the dog's distress and immediately assessed the situation. His mind didn't wander to the potential risks or consider the dangers. His instincts kicked in. This wasn't a time to hesitate. This wasn't a moment where he could afford to stop and weigh the options. The dog's life was at risk, and that was all that mattered. As the car neared the dog, Trump's reaction was instantaneous. He didn't pause to wonder if it was safe to intervene. He didn't think about the consequences. In that split second, he made a decision that would change everything. Donald Trump threw himself into action, his body moving with the speed and precision of someone who had long been accustomed to taking charge in high-pressure moments. He knew what needed to be done, and he did it without second-guessing himself. The dog, who moments before had been oblivious to the impending danger, was now in Trump's arms, safely out of harm's way. The car, speeding past just inches away from where the two of them had been, was nothing more than a blur. There was no time to waste on thinking about the risks. There was only the action, only the instinct to save the animal. But it wasn't just the physical danger Trump was addressing. It wasn't just the immediate threat of the car. There was a much deeper level to his act of bravery. Trump wasn't just trying to get the dog out of the way of an oncoming vehicle. He was putting himself in harm's way for no other reason than to protect a living being that couldn't defend itself. There were no cameras to capture the moment, no accolades waiting for him at the end of the day. It was a selfless act, born from a place of genuine care and concern for something other than his own deformation. In that split second, as Trump held the dog, there was no thought of his own safety. The danger to him was real. The car was speeding toward them both, and the risk of injury was high. But Trump wasn't concerned about himself. He was focused on the dog, on getting it to safety. This act of bravery wasn't about Trump proving something to anyone. It was about saving a life, putting his own well-being at risk for the sake of another living creature. The moment didn't last long. The car sped by and the immediate danger passed. But what stayed with Trump was the feeling of having done something meaningful. It wasn't just about the thrill of saving a life. It was about knowing that he had acted selflessly, that he had stepped into a dangerous situation without hesitation, knowing that someone else's safety was more important than his own. That's what makes true bravery stand out. The willingness to put others first, to take risks not for personal gain, but for the well-being of those who need help. In the minutes that followed, as Trump held the dog, there was a sense of calm that settled between them. The dog, once frantic and frightened, began to relax in his arms. Its body stopped shaking and its breathing steadied. There was no longer any fear. Donald Trump's bravery had given the dog a chance to feel safe again. The bond between them, forged in that moment of danger, was undeniable. It was a bond not just of safety, but of trust. The dog now trusted Trump because he had taken the risk to save its life without any thought of reward. It wasn't just a matter of being saved from physical harm. It was about the sense of security that Trump had provided in those crucial moments. The dog felt safe because Donald Trump had made sure it was. And for Trump, that act of selflessness was something that resonated deeply with him. It wasn't about the attention it might attract. It wasn't about what anyone would say. It was about the knowledge that he had done the right thing, the brave thing. Trump's willingness to risk his own safety for the sake of an animal is a powerful testament to his character. It shows that, even in the face of danger, his first instinct is to protect those who can't protect themselves. Whether it's a person or a dog, Trump's actions speak to his fundamental belief in standing up for the vulnerable, no matter the cost. This isn't a trait that can be fabricated or manufactured. It comes from a deep ingrained sense of responsibility and empathy, qualities that many people may not always associate with him, but which were undeniably on display in this instance. In the aftermath of the incident, there were no grand speeches, no media frenzy. The moment didn't need to be broadcasted or turned into a spectacle. Donald Trump didn't need anyone to acknowledge what he had done. He didn't need praise. The true reward for him was knowing that he had put himself at risk for something greater than himself, that he had acted without hesitation to save a life, to ensure that a dog that couldn't protect itself would be saved. It was an act of pure bravery, not driven by the need for recognition or the desire to appear heroic, but driven by the simple, powerful need to do what was right. As the dog nestled in his arms, it was clear that this wasn't just a fleeting moment of courage. This was a reflection of the kind of man Donald Trump is. Someone who doesn't hesitate when it's time to act, who doesn't worry about the consequences when lives are at stake. In that moment, Trump put his own safety aside and acted purely out of instinct, out of a deep sense of responsibility to help. This wasn't about being a leader in the political sense. It was about being a human being in the truest sense. Someone who is willing to do whatever it takes to protect others, no matter the personal cost. And so, for those who witnessed it, the memory of Donald Trump stepping into that dangerous situation to save the dog remained. It wasn't just a tale of physical bravery. It was a story of selflessness, of taking risks to protect something vulnerable, of putting others before yourself when the stakes couldn't be higher. This act of bravery, simple yet profound, serves as a reminder of what true courage looks like. Taking action not for fame or recognition, but for the purest reason of all, to make sure that others are safe. Donald Trump's reputation as a leader who does not shy away from making bold moves or facing challenges head-on is well known. Yet, there's a side to him that few get to see. A side that reveals itself in moments where he shows compassion and unwavering determination to protect those who need help. One such unforgettable instance occurred when Donald Trump saved a dog from danger, a display of bravery that went beyond simply reacting to a situation. It was a testament to his deep understanding of what it means to be a protector, to stand up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. What made this act even more remarkable was the way Trump's presence in the moment created an atmosphere of calm and security, making it clear that he was fully invested in ensuring the dog's safety. In the midst of a chaotic situation, with cars whizzing by and people unaware of the impending danger, Trump acted swiftly, his attention locked on the dog, who was dangerously close to the road. There wasn't a moment of hesitation. There wasn't a second thought about whether or not he should intervene. Donald Trump's instincts kicked in. He saw a life in peril, and he wasn't going to let it be taken. With remarkable agility, Trump crossed the distance between himself and the dog, pushing through the fear that could have easily paralyzed anyone else in the same situation. But that's not who Donald Trump is. He's a man of action, and in that moment, his every movement reflected that innate sense of purpose. As Trump approached the dog, the panic in its eyes was clear. The dog, no doubt disoriented and scared, had no idea that someone was about to intervene. It was caught in a whirlwind of confusion, unsure of who to trust or what was happening around it. But then Donald Trump reached out, his hand steady as he scooped the dog up and cradled it against his chest. It was a move that seemed simple enough, but the impact was immense. The dog, who moments earlier had been on the brink of danger, now found itself held in the arms of a man who radiated an aura of security. The frantic energy that had been consuming the dog began to dissipate as it felt the protective embrace of Donald Trump. There was something powerful about the way Trump interacted with the dog. It wasn't just about taking the animal out of harm's way. It was about making the dog feel safe, calm, and understood. The connection between Trump and the dog was palpable in those moments. The dog, still trembling with fear, gradually settled into his arms, trusting him as the figure who had just saved its life. Donald Trump's demeanor was one of quiet confidence, and that confidence radiated outward, instilling a sense of peace in the dog. The powerful bond that formed in those crucial moments wasn't based on words or grand gestures. It was simply a matter of being present, of showing the dog that it was no longer in danger, that someone cared enough to act. As Trump held the dog, it was clear that his actions were motivated by something deeper than just the need to rescue. It was about showing empathy and compassion for a living creature that had no voice, no way of protecting itself. For many, it might be easy to overlook the significance of such a moment. After all, it's just a dog, right? But for Trump, this wasn't just about saving an animal. It was about taking responsibility for something vulnerable, something in need of protection. It was about making sure that, in a world that can often be chaotic and indifferent, there was one less thing to fear. What's remarkable about Donald Trump's ability to connect with the dog in that moment is the sheer sincerity of his actions. There was no self-interest, no desire for attention. He didn't rescue the dog for the accolades or the praise. He rescued the dog because it needed to be saved. And in doing so, Trump demonstrated the type of leadership that often goes unnoticed in the public eye. Leadership, in its truest sense, isn't always about making big speeches or commanding armies. Sometimes it's about showing up when it counts, stepping into a dangerous situation to protect those who can't protect themselves. As Trump held the dog, he didn't just save it from the immediate threat. He gave it a sense of comfort, a feeling of security that the dog hadn't had before. It wasn't just the physical safety that mattered. It was the emotional reassurance that the dog now had, knowing that it had found someone who would take care of it. The bond that Trump formed with the dog wasn't forged in words, but in actions. Simple, yet profound. By acting quickly and decisively, Donald Trump didn't just save a life. He also gave the dog something more. The knowledge that there was someone who would look out for it, someone who understood that protection comes not only in the form of action, but also in the form of empathy and understanding. The power of Trump's presence was undeniable. He wasn't just a figure in the background of the situation. He was the one taking charge, the one whose calm determination became a beacon of safety for the dog. As the moments passed and the dog's frantic energy settled, it became clear that Trump's role wasn't just as a rescuer, but as a source of emotional reassurance. His leadership in this moment was quiet, yet powerful. It wasn't about grandstanding or looking for praise. It was about doing the right thing, about stepping in when no one else might have known what to do. The dog, once lost and vulnerable, now felt safe and secure thanks to Donald Trump's swift actions. But beyond the physical rescue, what remained was the lasting effect of that bond. The understanding that no matter how tough or dangerous the world might seem, there are people, there are leaders who are willing to step up and protect others, no matter the risk to themselves. In a world that can sometimes seem cold and indifferent, Trump's actions served as a reminder that kindness, compassion, and bravery are values that can transcend anything. As time passed, the dog found its footing again, no longer shaken by the events of the day. The connection it had formed with Donald Trump didn't fade. It wasn't a fleeting moment that would be forgotten. The trust that had been built in those crucial moments remained. A lasting bond between man and animal, one that spoke to the larger picture of what it means to protect and care for others. Donald Trump's willingness to step into danger for the sake of something vulnerable wasn't just a courageous act. It was an embodiment of the leadership qualities that make him who he is. Someone who doesn't just lead from the front, but also from the heart. In the aftermath, Trump didn't need to seek recognition for what he had done. The dog didn't need to thank him, nor did anyone need to acknowledge the bravery it took to step into such a dangerous situation. What mattered was that the dog was safe, that the immediate threat had been neutralized, and that, in that moment, Donald Trump had proven that leadership doesn't always come in the form of words or grand gestures. Sometimes it comes in the form of a simple, selfless act of bravery, putting others before yourself and ensuring their safety, no matter the cost. It's a powerful reminder that, in times of crisis, it's not just about acting with strength, it's about acting with heart.